Hey everybody, your saltwater guide, Captain Dave Hansen, together with Michael Folks as always on Tuesday, and we got a super special guest. This guy has been a part of the industry since he was born. His father is a living legend in the industry forever, and Michael and I are super happy to have you with us today. Andy, thanks for joining us, my man.
Hey, it's great to be here, man. I'm stoked to be available to get on the show with you guys.
It's
I got a couple of trips off here, so I'm ready to go.
It is super cool, right, Michael, to have him with us. I mean,
Yep.
long range guy, Red Rooster 3. We had Andy on the show last year. We were trying to help him promote the Riviera trips. He does up to Adolfo's, Lopez, Mateo, whale watching. Some of our viewers probably remember Andy from that. Long range captain forever. His father, Nick Cates. Oh my gosh. Go back, Nulo. Your dad and Buzz, they kind of ran the open party albacore thing when we were growing up. If you wanted to catch an albacore, you went on the Nulo Ann or you went with Buzzy on the Prowler. That was kind of it back when I was a kid. So this is cool to have you with us again, Andy. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, boy, that really brings back some memories, man. The Nulo Ann. You know, you got to remember also the Fishing Fool.
Oh yeah.
If you want to go way back, boy, there was some real memories on that Fishing Fool, man. Oh boy.
Well, it ran out of our landing for a little while. My father had kind of took the Fishing Fool under his wing. It was running out of Dana Wharf Sport Fishing back when we first launched the landing in 71, 72. That's crazy to think back then, you know? So yeah, but go ahead, go. And I'm going to kind of let you and Michael do this because this is all about the history of sport fishing, and we can't do the show without Promar gang, but I'm super excited every time Andy comes on my silly little show. It gets me all excited, Andy. But Michael and you guys got a bunch of history together too. So this is really fun to have you with us today. So go ahead, Mike.
Andy, one of my best trips of my life. I think I was maybe 19 or 20 years old. It was an overnight albacore trip on the Nulo Ann. It was on a Monday night or Sunday night, fished Monday. And your dad was running the boat, and he runs us right up until the dark. And flips on the Monday Night Football, and I'm riding home with albacore in my sack and Monday Night Football on TV, and I'm thinking it doesn't get any better than this.
In that little bitty galley, just as content as you could be.
Couldn't have been happier.
Man. Isn't that great? Yep. You know, it was funny. I was just with him it was probably a few days ago, and you know, he's always been really attracted to snakes. That's it. That's his thing. So it was sport fishing, the business of sport fishing, open party, and now he's all about snakes. So he you know, would go to the zoo and do these different outings and stuff. He just turned 80, so you know, he's getting up there, but he looks great. You know, he's doing fantastic. But his new love, or not new, but his refound love is definitely snakes. And it's funny because my wife is like, "Whoa, really? Snakes? Okay." And he's really adamant about it. But no, he's doing great. And
glad to hear that.
Probably get back together with him here at the end of this week. Go out to lunch or something. You know, I try and keep in touch. He only lives about 6 blocks from me. He lives in Point Loma.
Nice.
You know, so that's nice. And my wife and him spend more time together than I spend with them.
On the water all the time.
Yeah, well, you know, and I was talking to Dave there about being on the water a lot. You know, my son is 29 years old, Andrew, and he started operating the Red Rooster. And then another young man, Kevin, is operating the boat, in which Kevin's actually on the boat right now on a 6-day trip. And so it's given me some time to not be on the boat and kind of deal with more of the dockside issues that, you know, every business, every boat has, but and that's actually not that fun, but but I mean, we all know what that's about, you know.
Yep.
But bottom line, I've had a little bit more time to take care of some things at home, spend some more time with my wife, and you know, spend some more time with my dad, which has been, as we all know, you know, as you get older, it's time is the priority. I mean, you can't buy more of it. No matter what you got, you can't buy more time. So it has been nice to utilize the time that we have now. So, but coming back to that Fishing Fool thing, you know, I don't know if I showed you that video, because back in the day, remember when the guys would take on the charter boats, the guys would cut the transom, and then they'd put a commercial lift pole rack
Right.
on the transoms. And there was a number of boats that did it, but and they did it in the wintertime to try and supplement, you know, whatever a boat payment or whatever the case was. But the cannery was here in San Diego. So the guys would go out and they'd fish, and then sometimes they'd make it up to Morro Bay or wherever the line of fish was. And then they would sell the fish commercially to supplement their winter time. So when I was about, I think it was 77,
Okay.
which we don't even know how old I was at that time. Young, we'll call it young, quite young. But in 77, my grandfather came out and he did a film of my dad and Danny Nichols, Johnny Fletcher, a couple other guys that might be noteworthy on this commercial trip. And it was done on reel to reel.
Oh, sweet.
So it's all this reel to reel, and then we transferred it to a DVD. So I had a DVD, and I played the DVD at some of the fishing shows, you know, just to introduce some of the people of what it was. But it's really a marvel when you see, you know, Nick Cates, and there he is at, you know, what was he, 28? You know, 29 years old, you know, and he's in the rack and he's reefing on these things, and you can just see the look on his face. Every albacore is a $20 bill flying over the top, you know. He's like, one of them's trying to slip out and he dives on it and grabs it, you know, and throws it back into the conveyor or the track that they had on the boat at that time. But I mean, that was true grit, 100% back then, you know.
Hardcore.
Yeah, it really was. And there was a lot of guys that did it, you know. A big part of the fleet all had those brackets on the transom where they would adapt a some kind of a rack on there. Yeah. And then at one time I remember he put a canopy up because one of the kids got hit with one of the squids, you know, which is a barbless jig that we're all familiar with, the feather. One of the kids got cracked in the head with one of them, and he was like, oh boy, here we go. So then he built a big canopy, and it was grotesque, the canopy. It looked like the entrance to a taco shop.
Oh, geez.
You know? But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where you did what you did, you know, and it wasn't for, you know, the clients to see. So it was just kind of an off-season thing that you could kind of modify how you needed to do it so that it worked, and then you take it off, and then it became a sport boat again in, you know, June, July 4th was always the day. That was July 4th. That's the day of the season, you know, after you did your Coronado Islands and your squid at Descanso and, you know, that whole run. But boy, you know, people forget that the boats in the springtime, they used to leave at 3 a.m. You know, you'd go to Coronado Islands, you'd go down to IB and you'd get squid, or you'd go down to Descanso and get squid, and then you'd fish the islands for the day. And you'd leave at 3 a.m, go get your squid, get to the islands by daybreak if everything went great. And then you'd fish till 3, and then you'd get back at 6, you know. That was just kind of the spring fever, which morphed into the Yellowtail Derby. Right. Which also we continue to do in the first few years of Day at the Docks. And as you remember, my dad was a big part of the beginning of Day at the Docks. You know, he kind of helped cultivate that whole thing. So he was real pro getting all the boats together and doing this derby that we used to have. It was really a lot of fun. You know, there was a lot of boats. Everyone would line up. It got to a point where they had a siren where everyone would line up over at the end of the point there, and then the siren would go off, and all the boats would just go room, like a starting in Cabo, except for they only went 10 miles an hour. And all these sport boats would go racing down to the Coronado Islands or wherever they were going to try and get their catch for the Day at the Docks tournament, for the Yellowtail Derby. I'll never forget that. You know, I'll never forget seeing all the boats lined up. And I'll never forget one night. I remember Butch Harris. You remember Butch Harris?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he ran the Cherokee Geisha. Yep. So we were all lined up, and Butch was on the east side of Zanuga Jetty.
Okay.
And we were all kind of, whoa, what's he doing over there? So at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, when the alarm went off, when the signal went off to go, he's hauling butt, and that was one of the old Red Roosters too, was that particular boat. And it's still, that's the Old Glory now. But he ran right over the jetty. And there are some spots where you can get over that jetty and clear it. And
that spot.
he went right over the top of it, right over it, and everybody's just like, oh my God, did you see that? You know, and then Butch just like nothing happened, turned left and boom, got out in front of everybody and went.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow.
I'll never forget that, man. It was a classic.
That's a scary jetty in the nighttime, in the dark.
I mean, it's even, you know, keep your eye on it in the daytime, you know, like
at night. I can't even believe he cut through that at night. Like
just
the arches in Cabo to start a tournament.
There's the racks and the Thunderbird. I was looking for
that. Oh yeah, there you go.
Great picture.
That is a good picture.
I was digging through trying to find the pictures. I got that. That was Jimmy Schaefer and my old man were back on the boat then.
Oh, that's an awesome shot.
Isn't that rad?
Yeah, that gives people the feeling of how the sport boats were converted, you know? I mean, it was just a kind of a makeshift thing, but it worked, you know? It got you closer to the water. It got you in leverage so you could reef them on board.
That is such a cool picture. And you had to do that in the off season in order to pay the bills. I mean, you couldn't have the boat just sitting at the dock all winter.
It's so funny to think back. My dad used to say, we never even thought about fuel in those days, though. He's like, David, before he passed away, he said, all I want before I die is the money I spent on fuel last year. That's it.
It was what, 12 cents a gallon back then? 9 cents a gallon?
Yeah, it was nothing. And it went up in the I think it was the early 80s. It went up to like 75 cents or something, and everyone thought we're doomed.
Yep.
There's no way we're going to be able to operate these boats. We're doomed now. And, you know, of course, it wasn't doom.
No.
And now it's, you know, $4 a gallon. You know,
well,
but
remember when we were kids, Andy, and then the dads would say, okay, we're going to go. And that was when we got to go, we're going to go exploratory. And you'd be like, what? Oh yeah, cool, man. We're going exploratory fishing with all of our heroes. It's going to be all the captains are going to be on the same boat. And those were our heroes growing up.
Yeah. They were great.
Exploratory albacore fishing in June.
I'll never forget the trips where you'd have this stretch of overnight trips, 1 day trips, literally 24-hour trips. And then you'd throw in like a charter. You'd have a charter and they'd do like a 2-day trip. And then you'd go all the way down to the far reaches of Colnet, you know, and you're like, oh, we're down here. We're way down here, man. We're at Colnet right now, you know, and it's not that far anymore, but there was a time where that was, you know, that was a long way to go.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's interesting. Funny how that stretch has been so, I mean, those were the stomping grounds, man. Colnet, down outside of San Martin, down outside, you know, southwest of Geronimo, all that beach area. I mean, those were the years in, you know, the call it 98 to 2008, that's where we did all of our business.
Yep.
You know, all of that right through the 28 block, 29 block, the 30 block was a huge block, you know, that guys would go down, and that kelp patty fish on that bread and butter yellowfin, the albacore, those all day drifts on those bluefin, you know, whether they be 25 pounders or whether they be, you know, 60 to 90 pounders, you know, those all day drifts. And that, I think it was 94, because Ronnie was running the boat, the Red Rooster. I think it was 94 when we were fishing that 80 to 120 pound bluefin, and they were all day drifts.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just amazing fishing. No nighttime. The boat would shut off. Yeah, there was no nighttime, which is the dynamics of today's fishery. You know, the kids, you know, found another way to attack these bluefin tuna at night, and you know, spectacular scores on that. But the old days, boy, it was, you know, you got on a school in the gray or on the sea anchor. the legendary sea anchor, the bag bites, we called them. Yeah, we were on the bag, and we woke up and they were on us, and
they stay there all night too. You fish until dark and shut it off. They're still there in the morning.
You'd throw the bag out, and then wake up in the morning. Oh, we're on, and then all of a sudden, here comes they would all come from the depths, and here's this school on you. You're like, oh. Sometimes they'd get tired, and you'd have to find a new school, but for the most part, it was exciting waking up and, having a cup of coffee and looking at the machines and going, oh boy,
yep,
this is what I'm talking about. We haven't even started the engines yet, and we got a few hooked.
just a slow, steady pick.
Oh, we didn't even leave till midnight either. No one left. 11 o'clock would a couple of guys would leave early at 11 at night. The day boats, your dad and Buzzy, they would leave at midnight. We'd get off the boat, run down to San Diego, get on the boat around 10 o'clock at night and sign in and find your bunk. And then the boat would leave at midnight and everybody would be going down the line. And it was 55, 60 miles. And you'd get there right at gray light. And yeah,
that was the itinerary. You left it. I think, because we wouldn't get in till 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it was we'd our turnaround.
Yeah, we'd get in at 8 and scramble, hang new gunny sacks.
Right.
And then you were kind of rigging up rental rods.
The cook would go to the store. We'd come
back drunk. How'd you get so drunk going to the store?
Yeah.
They all had that little corner there to get on the boat, where you turned left to get onto your slip. And I can't tell you, I remember a couple of different times where the cook would just go right into the drink. One step, boink, right into the water. Oh God, the cook's in the water again. Classic, man. But rigging up those rental rods, and that rental rods rental tourism was bread and butter. I mean, it wasn't
the local regulars.
Yeah, I mean, you had your little band of regulars, but it wasn't an odd day to where you'd have 38 or 45 rental rods, and you're scrambling, putting on your rubber cores.
I was just going to say 1.5 ounce rubber cores, baby. That was
I mean, that was it. You rubber cores and a little bronze hook on a Penn 500.
Yep.
And your rental gear was ready to go.
And remember making those rubber core shiny sinkers, kneel down on the deck and rub it on the non-skid a couple of times and then put it on your buddy's rod. Oh yeah.
My favorite rig was the during my era was, because bait's always been an issue. And obviously that's a hot topic this year because of the transitions that we're going in. But we were always so to the point where we'd have a bucket of dead and you were short stopping, where you get a strike, you get a double strike and 2 bait fish. Okay. You get a single strike, 1 bait fish. And you do that until you got on the line or when the line floated, and then you got your wide open bite, and I shouldn't say got it, but you worked heavily and freaked out massively in order to get to that point. But you do a lot of short stopping and you look in the tank and you'd be like, what happened to the bait? So you're every time you stop the boat, you'd put 45 baits out. It doesn't last very long, man. So we started using, and 95% of the guys started doing the same thing, but we do the little, the chrome 2 ounce to 4 ounce torpedo. Right. Yeah. And then you just nose hook the dead anchovy and then you'd lob that out on the slide when you got a strike. And 9 times out of 10, guys that were engaged in that, they'd be on. So you weren't even using your bait, just what was in the dead bucket, right. Until the meat floated or until you got on the meat or whatever the case was. And then you had your main supply for that. But that was a way to kind of supplement the, because no matter how, I don't care who you are scooping anchovy, you're going to have dead in the bottom.
No question.
I mean, that's just the way it is. And you're going to be skimming it off the top. And it's like, well, let's not throw it over the side. Let's keep it. I remember back to the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
They'll eat on that stuff. No problem.
Back to the Fish and Fool. I remember we were doing a commercial trip with the rack and I was sitting on the bait tank. I think I was about 8 or 9. And my dad goes, look, just throw one dead anchovy out of this bucket. And I was just like, oh my God. I think I was in trouble or something. I was probably on restriction. so I had to throw the dead anchovy over the side. And he goes, keep a eye out in the prop wash. If you see something show, and here you got an 8 or a 9-year-old. The prop wash just looks like prop wash, but there was one case where I was lobbing them over and I just somehow looked up after moping and, oh, this sucks. And I looked up and I saw an albacore fin and come up and eat the bait. And I ran upstairs and I go, hey, I saw one. And he spun back around because they had the paper chart.
Right.
He had the paper chart. So he spun back around. We got a strike. And then that was the stop for the commercial trip. We ended up tanking up the boat, loading up the boat. I remember specifically, he goes, here's your cut, $20. I was like, yeah, I got my $20.
And that's all from that one spot.
From the one boil in the chum line. That was it.
Hard to see too, Andy.
It was a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I just happened to look up and went, oh my God. Because the wings would come up.
Right.
When they'd come up and roll, you'd see the wing come up and you'd go, oh,
right.
That must have been him. Came back around and he was looking at me like,
yeah, right, kid.
All right, well, I can't risk it. Let's turn around. And he did a little circle and bam. And I was just like,
pat on your back afterwards, huh?
Yeah. Cool. Pretty classic, man.
And the cool thing about that then, Andy, is you all of a sudden now you're paying attention to the prop wash. You're like, shit, there's something to this, Dad. I'm going to watch that. It got $20. Think of how much back then candy was a penny. You can get a lot of penny candy for a $20 bill, boy.
Yeah, I think a full grown-up candy bar was 25 cents.
If that.
Yeah, it might have been less.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a lot of candy bars.
Yeah, it is.
$20 bill. You're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
And that was back in the day too. Remember the truck would show up, the yellowtail cannery truck,
right,
and the albacore cannery truck. They would show up, and because we were crew and had commercial licenses, then we were able to actually sell the fish to that cannery.
Sell the boat fish. Yep.
You could sell the boat fish. So that's why we all had those boat lines out. The milk crate.
Yeah, that's
with the boat line.
Every time the horn went off.
Yeah, because boom. That's a $15 albacore right there. Boom. Put it in and then give it to the truck, and then they'd write you up an invoice and you'd get the money. I think the way they did it is the owner or the captain would save the money
and then
distribute it at the end of the year to the crew. It was a bonus.
And half the crew's done by the end of the year, so he's not having to pay everybody.
Yeah. The ones that didn't make the ones that didn't finish the race.
Right. You're
didn't
done.
didn't get the proceeds from the commercial caught fish.
Yep. I'm one of those guys.
Funny how things change.
When you're deckhand and you're working on the boat back then, and that cannery truck's beating you when you get in, and everybody went to sleep, and you're filleting albies on the way in, and the tax man would show up in the middle of the night, get a couple extra albacore there, a couple more $20 bills out of the people's sack. I'm not saying anybody did that, but I knew it was could have happened. Maybe.
Yeah, it was a thing. Yeah. I bet it was a thing.
How many 12 to 15 pound albacore does one man need? That's what we used to say. I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could go down the regulations road all day, but conservation has definitely been a benefit,
Absolutely.
for all of it, 100%. You look back on some of the regulations that we had, in the late 70s, early 80s, and you just kind of shake your head like, wow, man, what would somebody possibly do that? But there were resources for it. It's not like, it didn't go in a dumpster when you got in, it went to the cannery, or it went to the guys cutting them on the boat. And I want to say it was like 25 cents maybe, or a dime to gill and gut. And I think it was 25 cents to fillet or 75 cents a fish or something. I mean, you had to do a lot of them. Yeah, you really had to do a lot of them in order to have a nice split up amongst the crew for that day, you know. So
Hey,
a lot of
Sonny,
work.
good to see you, buddy. Kelly's dad's watching the show because he knew Andy was going to be on here. Hey, Sonny, thanks for jumping in here. We're going down memory lane with Andy Cates' gang, talking albacore fishing right now. We got the great Michael Folks, history of sport fishing. He's only got about 5 more minutes with us. So, Michael, talk about the trip you did with Andy on the Red Rooster real quick.
Oh, that was June heat. June heat. I think you guys were running the latest long-range trips of the fleet at that time. Nobody was going down there in June. I guess it's because the hurricanes. So
that's what it was.
Yep. And you guys were the only boat running down there at that time of the year. And it was probably one of the best trips I'd ever been on in my life. Between you and Creature, it was an unbelievable amount of fish. It was just an unbelievable trip. So much fun. And the boat you're running is such a sweet boat.
It is a really nice boat.
Such a sweet boat.
We've really put a lot of money back into the boat over the years, as any boat that you have to. But, you know, I think what was so special about that was the work that you did on that, and the editing and putting that movie together was absolutely state of the art at that time. Yeah. I mean, 100%. It was like the June heat was like, this is the latest. Michael Folks Productions, you know, bam, it was like right there. And, you know, I can go through and I remember all of the crew that we had, you know, Matt Mullaney and and I think Jimmy Burwell was there.
Jimmy was on the boat. I remember Matt, and Creature just cracks me up though.
Oh, he was a riot.
He was
100%.
Just an animal.
The Creature.
Yeah, the Creature.
Yeah, no, there you have it. Namesake, Creature. There you have it.
Yep.
He was too much, man. I hope he's doing well. I haven't talked to him. I guess Dave has, but I haven't talked to him in it's been at least a decade, but I hope he's doing great.
Last time I talked to him a few years ago, he was doing really well.
Good.
He was doing great. Yeah, he came out of Microsoft, a multi-millionaire. So
yeah, his mind, here to find out, was way too advanced to be a sport fishing captain.
He was a rocket engineer.
Yeah. Here to find out, he was just wasting his time on that boat. Here to find out, but
yeah, it's the best. He's told me that was the best years of his life. So
I don't doubt it.
I think we all look back at it and don't know how good we had it while we were doing it. You just don't realize how blessed we were to have the physical strength, the mentality, you know, the mindset, and the ability to go out and do what we did in that part of our lives when we were just so full of life and energy, and be able to spend that time on the water. It's memories that I'll treasure for the rest of my life till the day I die. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think my dad puts it into a way where he says, you know, hey, you're fortunate to, there's only so many guys that do this, especially on the long range boats. What is there, 10 boats or something? But there's only so many guys that are able to take people down at their best. They're on vacation, number one, and to go down and legally kill things and throw them on the boat and have a great time. Yeah. It's hunting. We're basically hunting. It's just we're hunting on the water. But he said it's a precious thing that you're able to do, and I've never taken it for granted ever.
Well, that's why you're still doing it. And
yeah, you know, there you go.
You're passing the baton. It's 3 generations.
It is. It is.
And that's just pure passion. That's just a pure passion and a love for the sport, a love for the ocean, and a love for what we do. And there's nothing in the world like running a sport boat. There's nothing.
No. It is an experience.
Yeah, people don't have a clue how hard it is and how much work goes into that trip of a lifetime with no flaws and no glitches. And if there is a glitch, most of the passengers don't even know about it.
Right. No, they don't even realize that anything happened. That's the art of it for sure. You know, to be able to go around obstacles and this and that. But, you know, on that note, to present day, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we have had a pretty choppy June, July, and part of August. But right now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this monsoonal condition that we're getting has made the weather nice. And, you know, it's like any vacation. You go out sport fishing, you go out snow skiing, you go out, you know, surfing, water skiing, whatever the case is. If it's good weather, that's the start to a great vacation. And
All
we're
about conditions.
really starting to see a transition here where there's a lot more grease calm days, if not textured days, and the people are just like, oh,
So cool.
that's all I was hoping for. Now if I can catch something, great. But
Weather.
priority one, it's calm.
Yeah.
And everybody's in a good mood and everybody's ready to enjoy their, whether it be a 1-day vacation or a 3-day vacation. It's your, you know, there's that feeling when at the end of the day, even on the way out, you know, and the sun's starting to go down and it's grease calm or there's a light texture and you've had dinner and you're having a cocktail or whatever your favorite spirit is, and you're just sitting there going, ah, I'm a long way from the 405.
Yes, sir.
That's it right there.
It's all about
Michael, I know you got to get out of here. It's time. You know that, right?
The older I get, the more I'm a flat fisherman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%. When it gets choppy, it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's horrible. Been there, done that. Living large. I'm all about flat fishing these days. So,
Absolutely.
listen, Andy, thank you so much for jumping on.
Don't leave, Andy. Michael's leaving.
You. And I apologize. I got to get out of here, but we'll see everybody next week. Dave, thanks for having me on. Andy, take care. And great to see you again, buddy.
Yeah, you too, man. It was great to catch up.
Absolutely.
All right, Michael.
All right, take care.
See you next week.
All right, you guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So real quick, I got to show everybody this video about the Akara jig, Andy, and then we're going to jump into a little bit more about the Red Rooster 3 and what's going on in your world and all the great things you and I've got to do in our lifetime, which are pretty cool. Like you said, it's like kind of like my dad used to tell me, it's kind of like making it in the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball. Only a few people get to do what we got to do and see the cool stuff we got to see and be the. I remember getting our captain, anyway, when I got my captain, it was like the biggest event in my whole life when I passed that test at the Coast Guard office there in San Diego. And it was like, holy moly, this is it. This is it. I did it. I got my captain's license. I'm going to be that.
It's nothing like passing the bar exam, but it is certainly a tall order, you know, and
all our heroes that they all had them and we wanted it more than anything. Yeah. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Here, check this cool video out I made at the iCast show, everybody. I want you guys to see this really awesome video. It sounds like I actually know what I'm talking about a lure, and then we'll get right back into this with Andy, so don't leave.
This is the Promar Ahi booth. Now, last night at the new product showcase, I looked at some of the lures, and the nicest lure that I saw on the shelf was the Ahi Ikara. So they have their new Ikara line of jigs. These things are absolutely incredible. I'm gonna show you them up close, but we're gonna talk to Dave here. Dave's gonna run us through the new lures from Promar Ahi and tell us what the features are on the lures. So now you corrected me and said these were slow pitch jigs?
Yeah, they're slow pitch jigging is the new thing in the fishing industry. Everybody's doing the slow pitch thing. They're making rods for it and everything. So we came out with the Akara line of slow pitch jigs. And the way that the fish react to them is absolutely incredible. Like you were mentioning to me, you could tell that they went to everything right. The hooks are perfectly weighted. Every part of the lure is weighted so that it flutters when it falls. And it looks just like a wounded bait fish. And it causes an unbelievable reaction bite. As we go through the line, we have them from 15 grams all the way to 150 grams.
Okay, so we're talking saltwater and freshwater?
Oh, yes, salt and fresh. I just did a seminar over at the Bass Tank, and every bass in there had the lure in his mouth at least 5 times.
First off, I just got to say, the quality and the detail on these things, you can visually walk by and see that these things are built different. I mean, the tiniest details on this, it looks like a real fish. 3D depth on the eyes. I mean, these things are unbelievable. Even the way the hooks are attached, they have like heat shrink sleeves over the tie-ons. I mean, everything was thought through on these lures that I can see from.
You really have to fish with it to appreciate it. When you watch it flutter, it's incredible. And I know you couldn't see it in the product showcase how it flutters, but you can only see what you can see, but you recognized it, which was a good deal.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to try one of these in some of the invasives in South Florida. Now, if I'm fishing for bass, which ones would I go for here?
It all depends on the depth of the water. Okay. If you're going to fish the shallower water, you see the smaller bait, the largemouth bass or the peacock bass
Yep.
or the smallmouth chasing the small bait, this is going to replicate that small bait inside there.
Okay.
So
Yep.
you're going to throw this on a spinning rod with maybe some 6 pound or 8 pound because you're trying to get a reaction bite on that fish
Yep.
when they're on the small bait.
Yep.
You can't fish it with very heavy line because then it won't do the flutter as it sinks. So it's going to have to be a lighter line.
Okay.
As
All
you
right.
move up to the weight, then you can move up on your pound test.
Now, how come they didn't put treble hooks on these?
Treble hook's not going to allow this to flutter the way we want it to flutter.
Oh,
We've
okay.
tried different treble hooks. So the smaller treble hook will allow it to flutter, but then you won't hook it. J hook, the way that it's weighted on here and the way that it's rigged, it's ready to go right out of the package, but you're also going to hook the fish when he eats it.
Well,
straight
Dave,
up and down.
They look beautiful.
Isn't that
appreciate the
amazing? I
lesson you
actually
just
sound
gave
like
me
I know
here,
what the
and
hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, I didn't get any of the audio, so I just got the pictures.
Oh, okay.
So
All
I
right.
still don't. I'm still a little fuzzy on the whole thing, but
It's slow pitch
I get the
jigging.
idea.
Slow pitch jigging, but you're probably like me. We like bait. I'm a bait guy, really. I'll sell
I
that
mean,
lure all day, though.
look at these innovations that they've done with this fishery here. You know, with this bluefin fishery. This tungsten jig became popular last year, and then into this year, and I was looking at it and I'm like, $150? Are you out of your mind? Like that seems stupid. But when you get to the point where you're dropping it down and you're the guy that's getting bit more than anybody else because you're in first, down first, and you're straight up and down, it's like it doesn't seem that expensive if it's working as well as it does. And I gotta tell you, it does. I mean, it's something. It's an investment, that particular lure, and I'm sure you can get them for less than that. But that's what the retail price is on a lot of them, is a rigged, ready to go type thing. But still, I mean, remember the days where a 6X Junior, $10? Are you out of your mind? And now it's like the jigs are $75. And it's like, oh well. I got a bite and I caught a nice fish, so it's worth it. It's worth every penny of it, especially when you're dropping down like that, 500 feet. Whew.
Yeah, and then you don't get a bite.
Yeah, and then you got to retrieve it. You're like, oh god.
Oh yeah. Well, who would have thought we would have paid $30 or $40 for a dead flying fish? Right.
Right. That's another one.
What the heck?
That's
We're
another
doing
one.
here. Yep. If you guys want that lure, the Akara jig, you can grab that QR code, 15% off the Akara lures that we were just talking about on the show. Check it out. And we got Andy Cates here. We had Michael Folks with us for a little bit, but Michael had to go. He's got somebody who's super interested in distribution of the history of sport fishing that we talk about every Tuesday. So come on, Michael. Let's all say a prayer for Michael that he gets that distribution done today with those guys. So,
oh, that'd be a great day.
Absolutely. We love Michael. Like you and I were talking before we went live. Andy and I, we grew up watching Inside Sport Fishing and dreaming about being on the show, right? And when Michael came out on your boat, you were the captain of the Red Rooster 3, and Michael came out and made that hot June. Oh my gosh.
Wait a minute. Let's I wasn't the captain.
Okay.
Ron Gribble was the captain. I was the second captain at the time. But yeah, there was the same heat on the whole project too, believe me. And that's a lot of work. It was really a lot of work, a lot of filming, a lot of cutting, a lot of editing. Michael felt like he was in the way a lot, and he probably was, but the reality of it is there's so much that goes into that, and then the narration and the project is so much more than what the final outcome is. Because the final outcome, you just put it in and watch it. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but the actual project is tasking, man. I mean, it's really a lot in order to put all that stuff together. So hats off to Michael with his productions that he does. He does a fantastic job.
And that camera he used to lug around on the boat, that thing, oh my God. And he was in it all the time, that big old camera. It was
Oh
crazy.
yeah. I mean, it was really something. Hats off to Bill Roker too. He had a nice following there. Remember the calendar every year that he put out? Bill Roker was a great part of the industry with the Western Outdoor News articles, keeping the anxiety high on the jackpots and the different reports from the sport boats prior to the internet and the internet's reports that we do. But I haven't heard from Bill in a while, but one of our clients that comes out was his next door neighbor this year, and he said Bill's doing great. So
Oh,
I was
good.
I was happy to hear that. So that was nice because he was really a nice guy and diligent, man. He was down there every single time all of the boats got in, all of the long range boats, and he would go through and do a statement from first place, second place, and third place. What were you using? That was your basis for information on that particular trip, and you didn't know anything until the boat got in. You didn't know what was going on. How was the boat doing? You had no idea, and then here comes the boat and they got a catch and everyone's all excited. And then Bill would do his whole spiel on it, get a couple of pictures at the weigh-in scale, holding the fish up. And, but hats off to him as well. He was a big part of the development of the industry and the audience, developing an audience for the industry too.
Oh, absolutely. And that was the only, like you said, that was the only way any of us got any information because we weren't out there doing what you guys were doing at the time. And so Bill was it. There was no internet, gang. When we're talking, there was no articles. And remember, all you got, the fish counts were for the day boats. There was nobody putting in a day and a half trip or anything more than a day. The only reports that were allowed back then, Andy, and because your dad was like one of the pioneers of the open party deal, was the open party 1-day trips were the only trips that were in the LA Times or the San Diego Tribune in the back where you saw the reports. That's kind of, oh, wow. There was 1,200 albacore caught yesterday, but that was just the 1-day boats. There was no 2-day boats, no 3-day boat. No, you didn't know what was going on. Unless
there wasn't really a market for it. That was Ed Zarowski that did that. Ed Zarowski was the sports editor for the paper, and him and my dad were pretty close for years and years and years. And I haven't heard from Ed. I think he moved into Middle America or something. I'm not sure. I shouldn't have said that. I don't know where he moved, but he was a big influence on that whole thing too. Had a big audience for local sport fishing. Local meaning Ventura down. So no, he was a great guy, man. Great help to the industry for sure.
And then you remember if Bill had the calendar and you saw yourself in the background of one of those pictures of one of those tuna or one of those wahoo, and then there you are with the gaff or with your boots on and your shorts, the OP shorts back in the day. You're like, we made it. We're in big time.
You'd sift through there looking for your boat. Where's it? Oh, there it is. Okay, all right, we'll put this.
We're in the calendar. We made it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And here to find out, I always thought, like, oh my God, how would you make a calendar, man? That seems maddening. How would you do that? And here now you can go online and throw some pictures on a thing, and then it puts it all out for you, and then all of a sudden you have a calendar, and you just $12 or whatever. It's like, oh God, that didn't seem so hard. But at the time, there was a lot of publishing and editing, and you had to publish it. You had to publish the calendar. Now you can make one in 10 minutes on your phone.
Right.
Basically. So
another thing you said when we first went live with Michael was your son Andrew's now running the boat and the other young man's running the boat for you, and they just want to run the boat. You remember when we got our licenses, we wanted to run the boat. We knew.
Yeah. Whether you wanted to or not, you were running the boat. But yeah, I mean, they're super motivated and doing good. The one young man, his name is Kevin Underwood, and then Andrew is Andrew Cates, of course. And they switch off with trips. Kevin's the main guy at this particular point, which is fine, for Andrew too, as he's learning a little bit more and getting more comfortable with the position. But like I said, yeah, they're out right now. Kevin's got the boat, and he's out on a 6-day trip. They're going to go down to the ridge, which is, it's funny how the trips have kind of morphed. A 5-day trip used to be creme de la creme. Everybody did a 5-day trip. I remember the Royal Polaris schedule was, from June 1st to you know, October 1st, it was straight 5-day trips, and everyone tried to follow suit, with fives. And at the least amount was a 4 with an occasional 3, but, a 5 because of the resources you had. You had Guadalupe, Cedrus, Bonitas, all these other resources. But now, as these resources are depleted, you've got a 3-day trip, which are extremely popular, with the caliber of fishing that is somewhat spotty, but still just the dream of going out and having 100-pound bluefin, 100 miles from San Diego on an overnight trip, or a 2-day or a 3-day, or leaving the dock and being there that night fishing is like pretty amazing. So the 3-day trips are very popular. And then the next trip that you can do and reach your next resource is basically a 6-day, and you're down into the top end of the area where 8-day trips are fished. So you make it down to the 13, San Pablo area, stuff like that. But that's why we went away from doing 5s, and now it's either a 3-day or a 6-day, 7-day, or 8-day trip, and occasionally a day and a half. But the day and a halves have kind of lost momentum too, because in order to do an effective day and a half trip, you've got to leave by noon to get to the grounds by 9 o'clock at night, or else you might miss the whole thing. You get there at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's like, oh, it
The
sounded like
night
it was
night's
good
over.
last night. So guys have kind of morphed the trips into, reverse day and a half, or, a 2 or the 3-day trip being probably the standard for the long range fleet right now, I would have to say.
And something I was thinking of, I was reading some articles last night because I knew you were coming on here. Something that's really strange for people like yourself, who's been in this industry for so long, running long range, is to think you're down on the ridge, and then the grumbling on the deck is they're like, "Hey, Andy, are those 200 to 300-pound bluefin biting up behind Clemente?" And you're down on the ridge and you're going, yeah, maybe. And they're like, well, I just saw a report here on my phone, and American Angler's got 3 fish over 300 today. And you're like, yeah, I guess we're making a move all the way back to Clemente from the ridge. You're like, isn't
Yeah,
that
well,
crazy?
the thing is that it's the clients that you've got a different set of clients. Some of the people that go on a 6, 7, or 8 are not interested, or have already done a couple of 3-day trips. So they're more interested in trying to find some variety, being Dorado, yellowtail, yellowfin, possibly a wahoo, something like that. So, it was a problem, a few years ago, when that was like, oh my God, we got to make a 500-mile move. But now, everyone's pretty happy with where they are. They like to fish the fly line, the live baits, and enjoys fishing on the
Anchor
anchor.
fishing, huh?
And it's less taxing. I mean, that's why I say that there's an arena for a 3-day, there's an arena for a 6-day. To take a 6-day and try and fish both arenas, you're just going to end up driving most of the trip. So, and the people all understand that you're going to go down and do this variety type trip with different types of fishing. And then if they want to go on a 3-day trip, well, we just so happen to have one on this boat or another boat in the fleet, or whatever. And you can get that experience without having to worry about anything else. And you go on a 6-day trip and you do that experience without having to worry about anything else, because that's what the itinerary is, effectively, for that particular trip. It's just a different cup of tea, and this fishing that we've had down on the ridge for the past couple of years, where we've seen um, a line of that better size fish, where you can go down and you stand a chance of catching a 60 or 80-pound tuna in the mix of that nice 30, 40-pound fish, is spectacular. And some of the trips that we had this year, where a lot of it was that, I mean, just beautiful bread and butter 50 to 80-pound fish. I mean, in a caliber that is pretty amazing, all day long type caliber fishing that. So it's just two different arenas that you're dealing with. You're one is you stay focused on that arena, and then for a 3-day trip, you would stay focused on the other. It's kind of like you're on a 3-day trip, and you're leaving on the trip, and you got your flat falls, and you got all your stuff, and the boat goes out, and then all of a sudden it goes left, and you go down to fish kelp patty yellowtail, and some people are excited, and some people are like, ugh, I thought we were going to go for the big bluefin, you know, and you're like, well, it's choppy, and we're going to go down and try for this yellowtail, and some people are like, oh man, you know, I mean, that's the reality of it. You know, you can make that transition just by going south or going west, you know, and you're going to have some of your group be excited and some of your group be like, oh man, I thought we were going to. So it's just how this job is. I mean, you're taking 30 people, 30 individuals to a destination, you know, and some are going to be excited about it and others are going to be, you know, depending on their physical ability, depending on, you know, possibly their age, it might be too taxing, you know. Now, the beauty of that is that, especially for well, I shouldn't say especially, but for most all of the 3-day boats and San Diego, LA, all the sport fishing fleets that we have, the crews are all like, say you come out and it's hard to get around. I'm in my late 70s, you know, I'm just coming out. You'll get so much assistance and so much help from some of the crew, if not a nice bold hook in hand, to where you didn't even have to grind the jig in, but you still get the benefit of the fight and the benefit of the possible win or lose without doing all of the hard labor that takes to get into it. And that you can still get that same high that you're looking for. It's the high that we're all looking for. The get the bite, the fish running, trying to get away. It's so exciting. And then if it falls off, you're devastated. You're like, oh, but that's part of the high. You know, the ones that fall off aren't bad. Those are the ones that make the ones that you catch so euphoric, you know, like, oh my, that was insane. It was incredible. Look at what I got. Look at this. Get a picture of me with my fish. So everyone gets so heartbroken when they lose a fish, but that's what you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel this loss, just this depression overwhelming you. And then just with the drop of a lure on the next drop, you could
all that
climax way above that and be in a euphoric state of the greatest day of my entire life. You know, it really is spectacular on the emotion that goes into sport fishing. It really is.
Yeah,
It's
the whole thing.
spectacular.
The whole thing is all about getting a bite. That's for damn sure. That's what we want since we were little kids. We wanted that bite, or you wanted to see that boil in the prop wash, and you wanted to
On your bait.
on your,
You know, boil. Oh, that's on me. Oh, you know, you know,
yeah.
that's it. That's the high that you're going for, you know, that it's like nothing else. I'm sure you know, it's probably like hunting, you know, where you pull the trigger and you get the kill and the high positioning and waiting and positioning yourself and your weapon, you know, and the days that you put into it and the amount of work that you put into it. Some of the videos, you know, they show the fishing and it makes it look easy, you know, like, oh, you just drop down, no big deal. It's not easy, man. There's a lot of work involved, and pulling on the fish and winding the fish in isn't even the hardest part, because you're so wound up anyways and pumped full of adrenaline. You're all fit to go, man. You're ready to go. It's that drop down fail or fly line fail that becomes wearing on you. And then when you cast out a bait and it's fly line, oh, I'm on, then all of that exhaustion goes away. And then all of a sudden you're pumped with adrenaline and you're all fueled up and you're ready to go. It's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, kind of like getting to the ridge and doing your first or second anchor drop, and there's no current. And then that third
Yeah.
anchor drop, the current's smoldering. You're like, uh-oh. Yeah. And those
Yep.
first, as a captain, those first 2 anchor drops, you're like, oh my God, what did we do? We came all the way down here and there's no current. But then the next spot, you go from the 9 to the 13 down to the 28, and you're like, oh shoot, we went 3 miles and now the current's smoldering, and all of a sudden everything we did was perfect.
Yeah, the whole you can watch the texture of the water go from kind of like a washing machine, disoriented, kind of, the boat's rolling around, things seem funny. It's got like a morning sickness to it. And then all of a sudden you look up and everything's groomed and it's all laid down and beautiful. And you look back and everybody that wants one has one on. You're like, whoa, is that coincidence? Kind of a coincidence, but conditions are, especially structure fishing, and conditions are another thing, even in an offshore arena. I mean, there's times where it looks slack and there's no water movement, even, you know, 40 miles offshore, and that doesn't ring a bell to a lot of people. But then all of a sudden you start to notice movement, and then all of a sudden you start to get bites and things get active, things start to activate. So it's a lot more than just, dropping it and dropping the anchor and then just, oh, we're here, we're on this spot. I mean, there's really a lot more to it, especially for people that make their living on structure. It really is vital, especially up in some of the local islands. You see these guys with these sea bass hits and these yellowtail hits, and I mean, you've got to have that experience of seeing what that condition was and seeing that condition begin before you start moving all over the island and end up driving all over everywhere, and then somebody parks right where you were and they're all bent over getting exactly what you were trying for. There's really a lot more to it than just luck, that's for sure.
Like I try to tell all of our members of our website, you got to wait. When you get to the spot and the conditions are right that we talk about, you got to wait a few minutes for the miracle to happen. Sometimes they leave before the miracle happens. You know that as well as anybody. That miracle's about to happen when you've done all your homework, Andy, and you know the tide's right and the current's right and the water looks good. Give it some time. Give it a little bit of time. You just drove all over the place to find the right place where everything's perfect. Take a deep breath. I mean, I've had so many of my members go, hey, we left at 4. And I'm like, yeah. And then Jimbo went in there at 5:30 and just almost sunk the boat. Why'd you leave? Well, we were getting to calico every cast. I go, I know, that's what you want. And then
That's a
all
good
of a sudden
start.
it turns into straight croaker. And you're like, you left before the miracle happened. The other thing that I find really funny, I talked to a guy yesterday, Andy. He's like, yeah, Dave, we went out there. All we got were small bluefin. I'm all, okay, what do you mean? Like the 10 pounders? He's all, no, they were like 40 to 60. I'm like, what are you talking about?
What do you mean small?
Andy talked about at the beginning of the show, he'd be on a 5-hour, 6-hour drift and plucking away at 40-pound bluefin and just happy as a pig in poo, just as happy as you can be. And now these guys are so spoiled now. We didn't get any 100-pounders. You're like, what? You had a whole bunch of 50s and 60s. Come on.
Yeah. No,
they're bluefin.
Yeah, they're hard to catch. They're real hard to catch.
They were our whole life growing up.
This particular year too, man, there's been so much movement, where that fish is that line of fish has moved. It's not uncommon that it'll move 30 or 40 miles, overnight, and everyone all piles up where it was good the day before, that night or whatever. And then everyone spreads out like a bag of marbles, and then here to find out it's 40 miles to the southeast, and it's like, oh my God, we got to go, but it has been a lot of movement this year, without a doubt. And what's showing, like, for instance, so here's a perfect example. The last trip, on the Saturday they were out. It was a 3-day trip. Kevin ran the boat, and they were out on a 3-day trip. And the first day, the majority of what they caught was that 10 to 30 pound fish, and they had a nice long drift all afternoon or morning or whatever it was. They had a nice long drift, and there was a sprinkling. They got a couple of 80 pounders. Everyone was completely ecstatic, had a great day. And then the next day, he got a call from one of the guys on the Shogun and said, hey, we had to leave, but we did see this sign here. And then Kevin started in there, and it was all 120 to 200 pound fish on the flyer on the kite the next day. And it was just like, well, what? How did that happen? But you never know, but that's also using your resources, you get a call from somebody that says, "Hey, we saw some sign in here," and he could have went in there just as easily and got one fish and never got another bite, just as easily, you know. But it just so happened that that was how that was. Now, to think that you're going to go and take your people in and then turn around and go back out and do that again, I don't know. I don't know. It's timing and placement.
And that's the one consistent thing about this season is there's been no consistency.
No, there hasn't.
Been none. But then again, we just, like I was telling Michael a couple of weeks ago, we just came out of the coldest June and July that's ever been recorded in Southern California. So we haven't even had summer yet. I think we're looking, and you are down the line seeing what's going on. We just got hit with a massive tropical storm last night. Thunder, lightning, like you couldn't even believe here in Cabo. We got 5 inches of rain in like 3 hours, flooded the whole town. And
wow.
we didn't even see that coming. If you look, there's a spinner, but it's like 200 miles off the beach. And but it just dumped so much rain here last night. Everything's late this year. Everything's late.
What's the water temp there?
On the beach, 84, 85 on the beach. On the beach. Off the beach, it's not. Yeah, it went up and it went up again the last couple of weeks, but it's been hanging out in that 79, 78 forever, but it's warm on the beach again right now. Really good blue marlin fishing down here, like really good. Like you can go catch one. Most of the charter boats get a blue marlin every day.
Wow, that's incredible. That's a great trophy, man. Holy cow.
And a couple of blacks sprinkled out here and there, which is super early for this time of year. So, but I think that this whole thing in SoCal coming up the line, everything's going to be late. I think it's going to be spectacular for us. Is there any openings on the Red Roost? I told you an hour. We went over. We're going to wrap it up right now.
You know, I have a 7-day trip that leaves on Sunday of this week, and there's openings on that. Right now, it's pretty light.
Wow.
So, yeah, I know, but you know, there's been kind of some toss up and cancellations and this, you always have cancellations, but if somebody wants to go down and try the Ridge and Alejos type run, you know, call the office at 619-224-3857. Maria's in there. And if you're interested in going on what could be a relatively light load trip on board this Red Rooster, this spectacular vessel, give her a call, and it's going to be quite comfortable. And I'll be there. You know, I'm going to be leading the charge. So there we have it. My son won't be there. He's going to be up at his house there. So, but the rest of the guys will be there, and we'll have a great time. So that's one of our trips. And then, you know, there's a sporadic 2 spots, 1 spot type of thing, you know, on some of the trips going on into the fall. But, yeah, such is life. You know, you work through it.
Yeah, you want to get in on the mix, though, just call the office and let them know you want to, if something pops up. I know Sunday's kind of a Hail Mary thing because
that's the problem. Quick,
and it's 7 days, but just throw your name in the hat there, and when they have an opening, they'll give you a call. You can jump on it. You'll never know. If you got the time, give the office a call and give the number one more time a little slower. People are writing as fast as they can.
Okay. It's area code 619-224-3857.
And Andy, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's a pleasure. It was great to touch base, catch up a little bit.
Absolutely. The history is the best. When we go back in the old days and think of what our dads were able to show us and how we grew up is just amazing, right?
Yeah, it's been a fun run. It definitely has been a fun run.
70s.
A lot of work, but it's been a fun run.
Yeah, but there was something special about growing up on the sport boats in the 70s. Boy, it was just a different world back then, wasn't it?
It was rugged. It's rugged, man.
Wild West, baby.
Yeah, it was rugged. It was the Wild West, 100%.
Captain Al Clowers, what are you doing, Captain Al? You coming back from the Coronados?
Well, not yet. I'm going to make one more pass. I found this little spot, and we just put 5 on the boat in a quick minute.
On your spreader?
20 minutes.
Trolling the spreader bar?
Yeah.
He's trolling the spreader bar, Andy, at the Coronado Islands catching yellows.
There you go.
Crazy shit.
However you do it.
it was kind of a hectic morning and new clients, and they didn't believe, and went rock cod fishing to get them off my back. And
Oh,
now they're believers, baby.
yeah. That old trick. Get a few cod, get them settled down.
They're all happy now. Look at
All right,
it
Captain Al.
standing right next to that rod.
Captain
San
Al
Diego.
Clowers, you know Andy?
I don't know if I do or not. Hi, Andy.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, looks like you're having a great day.
He's been running sick pack down there for 40 years in San Diego.
Right on. What boat right now?
No, Andy runs the Red Rooster 3. I'm talking about you.
Right. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Is your last name, it's Andy Gates?
Yep.
I know of you. I just don't know you.
Well, now you do.
There you go. Now you guys are buddies.
There you go. Now you have it.
Yeah.
All right, Al. Thanks for jumping in.
Right on. See you guys later.
All right.
Bye,
Take
buddy.
care. Good job.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Yesterday, we were live with Al all day at the Coronados, watching him get bit on those spreader bars. It's a pretty spectacular bite. I never would have thought trolling spreader bars over the spots down there would work, but I'll be go to hell. It's working.
Yeah, you got pretty good success. I keep seeing your monkey go across the
he's
the
all
top right
fired up.
there.
You
Yeah,
know,
he's lit up right now.
it's snack time, Dad. It's
Oh.
1 o'clock. Where's my snack? God damn, are you done talking yet?
Oh,
all
that's
right,
pretty
Andy.
good.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hopefully you get some people for that trip on Sunday. If not, we'll be back here with you real soon. Thank you, buddy.
All right, Dave. Thanks for inviting me, man. I appreciate it.